Okay, so I'll start the second part of the ocean renewable energy, and uh, the energy sources that I will cover is the tidal, wave, and somewhat related. I just named it flow, but yeah, okay. So I'll cover the three renewable energy sources. So tidal energy is using tide energy, and the characteristics are the concentration of the tidal energy is mostly on the bays, open to the west and the east. And the straits connecting two seas, the straits are small gaps between the land masses that connects the other seas or oceans. The one of the one of the straits that we can find nearby is the uh, Hokkaido in Japan, between the Hokkaido and the mainland of the Japan. And also the tune of resonance is effective because the tidal energy has a very the tide has a very constant frequency, and this is related to the predictable power output. So because we know how much tide comes in and how much tide comes out, it is quite easy to predict how much of the power we can produce. So yeah, and also relate to what the professor mentioned earlier, it is quite easy to mix with other energy resources. And yeah, so how do we no why do we have tides? Tide is formed because of the gravitational interaction between the moon, the sun, and the earth, mainly because of the moon. And here it says that the solar tidal force is 46% of the lunar tidal force. So because the earth orbits the sun, it it keeps on gets the gravitational attraction from the sun, and as the moon orbits around the earth, the the ocean part that is near the moon becomes higher. Uh, yeah, so the types of tides, we have the flood tide and the ebb tide. So flood tide is when the ocean water comes into the land, and ebb tide is when it goes out. So the generation of the tidal energy is usually done by blocking the water path between this flood tide and the ebb tide. So considering we have a flood tide at some point, we block the passage, and then we have considerably higher tide at the inside and lower tide at the outside. So if we open this turbine channel, then the relative difference in the potential energy induces the flow to come out. And in the situation of the ebb tide, we can also have the tide on the ocean part higher than the tide at the land. So now the flow is inverted, but still it can induce the rotation of the turbines. Oh yeah, so tidal energy, this is the same concept. We usually have the tidal barrage, dam-like, and we use the potential energy difference to induce the flow. And tidal stream capturing, this is not really like this, but since we have the tides, the flow direction is either towards the shore or the inverse direction. So based on the dominant flow direction, we can install these kind of turbines so that when the flow occurs, the turbines will eventually rotate and generate electricity. Yeah, so that's just the amount of energy that we can get due to the potential energy difference. And these are some of the tidal power dams that are installed in different countries. And yeah, Shihwa is in Korea, and it has well, quite a lot of power output. Yeah, so the next energy that I just added is the flow energy, and mainly using the flow induced vibration. This is a product or generation concept called the bibache, which is vortex induced vibration, ACE something. And how it works is when flow passes through a block body, the flow induces the flow creates wakes behind the block body, and because the wakes are produced in a periodic way, the created wakes behind the periodically created wakes behind the body induces force or pressure distribution on the body itself, and because it is formed periodically, then the formed pressure distribution starts to induce oscillation on the block body. So by using these flow-induced vibration, we can have such kind of a cylinder oscillation or these kind of hydrofoil oscillations, and we can convert the motion into electricity. Yes, this is the Shiwa, and wave energy is different from the tide energy. Wave energy uses the momentum of the wave, and because we have such kind of fluctuations, we can install rigid, well, a bit flexible objects on the surface, and because we have the waves, the waves will deform those structures, and uh, the deformations in the structures are then converted to electricity by using sometimes piezoelectric materials or generators at the hinges. And these kind of buoyancy objects can also be used to go up and down following the wave amplitude. And also this is another concept of the wave energy converter. Uh, yeah, so all of these are, well, installed, but one thing that we should note is that all these kind of renewable energy sources takes the energy from the nature and convert it into electricity. So because the relative energy that is converted compared with the total energy the environment has is pretty small. So currently we can say that the environmental effect is quite small, but uh, like in the case of dams constructed in the rivers, uh, if we increase the power output of the um, tidal energy tidal energy generators like the Shiwa and the other things that I showed you. We cannot really know what the environmental effects um, are gonna happen. So yeah, maybe that can be a challenging research subject to be done. Yeah, so and that's it. Any questions? Nope. Thank you.